What's up, everybody? Real quick, we had an audio issue with this recording for whatever reason. The audio issue is that I deleted it by accident, to be honest, but an audio issue nonetheless. So all I have is the mic on the camera for our audio, so I apologize for the lack of quality in the audio. I usually have it pretty fine-tuned, but we just got to deal with what we got. You get what you get, and you don't get upset. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another Nerd Rage Top 5 discussion, and we are due for a Transformers topic, so a Transformers topic you will receive. If you like conversations like this and you'd like to hear more, please feel free to check out Nerd Rage Radio for free wherever your favorite podcasts are hosted. It's a weekly show, and if you want the uncut of this, it's exclusively available on Patreon. So I got Chris Pinkerton,
if you're nasty,
and I got Joey, aka Uncle Dolphin.
Yo,
and today we are going to have a conversation that's actually been requested by the listeners to do a top 5 quote-unquote masterpiece moment or magical transformation moment that just stuck with you, that you remember, that you're like, man, that was clever or noteworthy or whatever. And I gotta tell you, as somebody that transforms figures an awful lot, it was a very challenging list for me to come up with. But I thought about it, and I was like, what has stuck over time? So I will go first, being as though it's my topic. I always fall on the sword and choose the Transformer topics so that you guys can have all the fun. With that being said, I will start it. So my number 5 is, in general, the Fans Toys Stunticons, the Limbots. And the reason why is because the robots themselves are almost as big as a Seeker.
Yeah.
They're huge. But when you transform them down to cars, they become cars that are in scale with the old Masterpiece car scale of like Lambor, Sideswipe, Sunstreaker, all that. And I still am not 100% sure of how they pull it off.
I love that. That's like, because I'm weird. I like my vehicles to scale, and that hits a spot.
Yeah. And the robots are also to scale because they're supposed to be a bit
bigger.
larger. Yeah.
So.
And for whatever reason, when I saw, when pictures first hit, like the I Got It first picture, like, look what came in, everybody was like, look how huge they are. And my thought was, well, they should be bigger than your average car bot, but I wonder if they're going to be ridiculously bigger in car
cars.
And they weren't. And I was like, how did they do this?
Oh, it's called mass shifting.
Mass shifting.
Yeah,
that's what it is.
They did it. They found a way.
They shifted the mass.
Joey, number 5.
This is something that stuck with me. It's not amazing at all in today's standards. It's clunky, but it's classic, which is City Commander. Because that was one of the first party things I had, and the fact that it was made of plastic and clips perfectly onto the Chug Prime.
Yeah.
Like it was meant to be manufactured. I was like, it was a leg specifically. When the legs clipped in, I was like, oh.
I think it's also...
This is real.
It's also the fact that was so early on and the expectations were kind of low. You know what I mean? For that kind of stuff, that it was like impressive, that it was like, what? Like, these seems like professionals.
Yeah, it seems like, well, it was factory made. Now things are factory made, but back then it was unheard of. Usually it's like resin kits.
Right,
like
garage kits.
Kits.
Yeah.
And flimsy stuff that doesn't fit. Like that kit fit exactly on perfectly. And it was designed well for... 15 years ago?
Yeah, I mean, it's still a historic piece.
Exactly, so it's memorable. I remember it perfectly.
Yeah. Number 5, Pinkerton.
The polar opposite of Bobby. I don't transform many things, even when I did collect a lot of if it came in robot mode, it normally stayed in robot mode.
I wouldn't if it wasn't for this nonsense.
Okay, fair enough.
Parking in your same garage, as it were.
Yeah. The dino legs being hidden on the Fans Toys Dinobot.
Yeah. It did change the game. Mm-hmm. In a very clever... I think everybody was just okay with the idea of chalking it up to, like, what are you going to do? Right. You're going to have to... and then they figured it out, and then it has since become the standard.
Exactly.
I don't think anyone else does it as well as them. Like, the way that there's an inner panel in Grimlock's leg where you don't see, like, the dinosaur leg hanging out.
Yeah, at all.
At all. It's just like, as a cover for it. I don't think anyone does it better.
Even the Studio Series mainline releases have had that similar kind of transformation where you just don't have these dino legs hanging out.
Solid. It's weird because in some ways it seems so obvious. You have these big dinosaur legs sitting on the side, and you have these big robot legs that are empty. Yeah. But at the same breath, nobody ever did it.
Nope. Flip that bitch in.
My number 4 is Unique Toys Lockdown.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
And it was just the way that, like, once again, the car mode seemed like relatively small, and then they basically filleted itself in half and split open, and then was like this huge robot out of nowhere that was like...
Is it Peru?
Peru. But it was just one of those things, like, this was a character, obviously, that I don't care about the movies, I have no interest in whatsoever, but I couldn't help but notice, like, how smart is this? And not frustrating at all. And I had a similar experience recently. It's not good enough to quite make the list, but just with their Dino that they recently did.
Mm-hmm. Like, yes. Finally, I feel back in the day I wanted one. It was 5 years ago.
They turned it inside out. The engine block became the stomach. It flips up and around and over, and the head. Like, it's just like they're really smart. Transformation. Number 4.
Number 4 for me is movie leader class Starscream.
Okay.
One of the first times.
The gray one?
Mine had tribal tattoos on it for whatever reason.
MPO2, yeah.
Well, I guess they were camouflage. Was it supposed to be camouflage?
I don't know. It was a movie Starscream. It was F-22, but it had like black tribal tattoos on it.
Oh, okay.
For whatever reason. You have to pull a
that
picture.
That seems very
people.
Michael Bay.
I don't understand why, but the fact that it was the first time a official toy turned from a robot to a jet without like a robot hanging out from the bottom of a jet shell was beautiful.
Yeah, a lot of those.
The movie toys.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
If you have like the design is fine, but like you have to objectively say the toys are well designed.
I never bought any, and I handled even less, or vice versa. But to this day, you still hear people talking about a lot of those original movie figures.
Yeah, that's from movie 2 and 3. Like the first ones when they were starting wasn't the best. Movie 2 and 3 they were like really good, and then 4 was when they start like the budgets start tanking.
Right.
And that's crap.
Number 4, Pinkerton.
Number 4 for me is actually probably the last thing I actually transformed. It's a Missing Link Optimus Prime. Those freaking hands, man. The way it's so simple. They just curl in and
the G1 looking thing.
Yeah, the G1 looking with the new. Yeah. I mean, it's fantastic. That gave me the feels, but just that one thing, because the hands were always so frustrating. You lose them, or the pegs. Sometimes it's like they didn't hold for some reason. You had to put something sticky in there, and then that's a whole thing. Shout out to childhood.
I do think it's also one of the more parts forming experiences that does take you out of the experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when you had to put a giant mitts on.
Like when you combine like a Bruticus or something from G1 and you just plug the foot in, it was like no big deal. Yeah. But when you had to like stop, find the hands,
hopefully
get the hands,
to sort of
like that was a bigger hitch in the giddy up, as it were. My number 3 is Masterpiece Inferno. And it was
so with the ladder folds inside.
Yep, and that's exactly why. It's just like you had handled by this point so many Masterpiece Infernos. There was the Make Toys one, there was the MMC one, and then later was the X Transbots one. But none of them were able to do exactly what that Takara did, which was to just take the ladder and say, well, why don't we just make it go away?
Yeah.
And then somebody's like, yeah, but I mean, I guess if you can make it go away.
I mean, it was back to the fan toys guys when they threw at the guy's head. The Brontosaurus head on the inside?
Yeah.
That was great.
Yeah.
Instead of just a big old dumb dinosaur head just hanging out in the back.
Just hanging around. What about you, Joey, number 3?
Number 3 is Transformations Menasor. I know it has issues, right? The legs aren't the most stable, but I still think it's one of the best looking combiners out there.
And it looks exactly like it should.
Exactly. But the specific part is when the trailer shell folds in on the back and smooths out the entire back of the combined mode, and it's like, oh man, that is genius.
Yeah. That was good.
That part.
Yeah. That combiner had stability issues.
Yes, the knees.
And rightfully so, but as in terms of the criticisms it received. But that set looked exactly like it was supposed to in robot mode, exactly like it was supposed to in alt mode, and exactly like it was supposed to in combined mode.
Yep,
like
and
to
great
the ladder.
Proportions, great aesthetics, the transformations were smooth. It's just one thing mess up the whole thing. Just the knees, so to speak.
Yeah. Number 3.
This is silly. When I figured out that you could do, and I'm going to say this wrong, Joey, go ahead and correct me, the gear walk mode.
Yeah.
I was like, holy that's awesome. But, obviously that's actually a mode those were made. And I think I might have seen a Robotech at sorry. Listen,
like,
that's what was
like a bad feeling.
That's what was on the toy boxes at Circus World.
You know, like on a roller coaster, on a plane turbulence when they drop like about 1,000 feet. That feeling when I hear that.
Okay.
My number 2 is Fans Project. It's not a masterpiece, but it's Fans Project Chrome Dome. It was the fact that you had the windshield that was part of the robot, and then when you went to transform it to car, these grooves aligned. You could slide the entire windshield onto the lower part of the body. Now it's not on the upper body anymore. Now it's connected to the lower body. It sits back in to create the full look. Like, I was just like, I've never seen. Honestly, I don't know if I've seen anything before or after it.
No, that engineering.
Yeah, that was really clever. Smart Robin
he's in my runner-up.
Probably some of the highly thought of non-masterpiece figures.
Yeah, I agree.
But then they like never finished a set for like 5 years, and everyone's up there.
And then it was too late.
Yeah. It's over.
Number 2, Joey.
Number 2 for me is Dark of the Moon Leader Prime.
Okay.
And again, the specific moment is going from robot to truck. And at the very end, you like clamp the top and the bottom together, and then you form the whole truck. So like the whole upper body, like so the legs turn into the front of the. So if the guy's standing like this, you sit down, and that's the front of the truck up there. The whole back of the body like detaches on the hinge, slaps forward, and it clamps together into the cap of the truck.
One of those is considered to be like pretty challenging of a transformation.
It is extremely challenging. Yeah. It is extremely challenging, but rewarding to me. And because of the plastic is meant to be a little bit bendy, so it's forgiving. You're not going to break it.
Right.
Unless you really force it.
Number 2, Chris.
Tapes.
All of them? Every single one.
I'm a fan of the whole catalog, Bob.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so simple, really, if you think about it, but just the fact that somebody... they came up with that. I don't know. I just always thought that was the coolest thing. I still do.
I also say, like, I'm still amazed by the tapes. Like, even today, I just recently looked at that Rat Bat from Fans Toys, and I always do this thing with tapes where I don't do any instructions, I don't do any dry runs, I just see how intuitive they are, because they should be intuitive. To me, that's part of being a tape, is that the transformation should be straightforward, fun, and intuitive. And it was every bit of it, and it was impressive. Like, I'm still impressed by some of the things. And I consistently feel that way. My number 1 is the Bumblebee MP, the first version. And I just remember getting it close to robot mode and having this whole hood of the Volkswagen. And I was like, well, where? Did I miss a step? Where are they going to... There's no room for this to... Looking at the instruction, them saying to angle it, and then you close the chest, and there was a groove inside the frame of the robot for the hood to slide perfectly inside of at like a 45-degree angle. And I just remember being like... at the time, and it was also eons ago. I'm not sure if it would strike me the same way now, but once again, it's like one of those like bricklaying moments, I think, for like the future, but it was just one of those ones that like really took me by storm.
I mean, you have to compare what it is, the experience at the time.
At its time, 100%.
Without everything else coming after it.
100%.
Of course, everything gets more impressive over time.
Number 1 for you.
Number 1 is Fans Toys Motormaster.
Yeah.
The whole thing. Like I know the trailer collapsing into the back is very impressive, and it's great. But the whole thing is great. The feet, how like it is the front of the truck, but like it folds, it collapses in on itself, so it's a bit smaller and that looks less ridiculous as the feet. But it's still the feet.
Yep.
Like it's like
it's
not
amazing.
Not that much cheating. Sometimes you just have a false chest, right? Like sun surge or whatever.
Right.
But that one is actually the part just collapsed in a little bit.
Yeah.
But that one is perfect to me.
Number 1 for me, and exactly what you guys were saying about you have to put in the time that it was out.
Yeah.
It's Masterpiece Optimus Prime MP01.
Yeah, and that was in my runners-up also.
Because I remember I ordered that from BBT. It might have been the first thing I ever ordered from them. And I remember I was at my parents' house and I opened it and it was just like, oh my God, this is so amazing. And just the hiding the wheels and just the articulation that it had, which, obviously looking at it now, like, ugh.
But I couldn't fathom. I couldn't fathom at its time how close it was to the cartoon model, how close it was to the truck. Like, I was like, how on planet Earth did they accomplish such a feat, you know?
Exactly.
So, if you like this and want to hear more, please feel free to follow us wherever your podcasts are hosted. Also, feel free to let us know your 5 favorite transformation moments.
Can't wait.
Put it right in the comments. Otherwise, Joey, where can they find you?
They're just here. I'm here all the time.
Beautiful.
Next door.
And Chris, where can they find you?
Crashbox Customs all across the fruited plain. Here we go. Behind the back path. Alley-oop. Boom. Slam dunk on Batman there. So
I read it. That was Wonder Woman. You know
perfect.
Oh,
because I was worried I wasn't going to be busy enough this week.
Yeah.
And we'll be back next month with another top 5. Hopefully, fingers crossed. Our schedules have gotten complicated. But with that,
Flappy lips.
Tasty toenails.
Tight trash, player.